If you had 900k of Bitcoin right now and your net worth was 1.1 million, so pretty much 80% of your...
Including the Bitcoin?
Yes. What would you do with it?
Sell it.
Sell how much of it?
Every cent of it.
You sell it all?
All of it?
Interesting. Yeah. Why? Oh, yeah, I got a question for you. Hypothetical.
Mm-hmm.
If you had 900,000 worth of Bitcoin right now,
Yep.
what would you do with it?
I would.
It's worth 115,000 a pop, and you have like 8 of them.
I would probably sell half of it
Why?
so that I can guarantee that I have that money, because I don't trust that shit. So I reckon if it fell and it went down to zero, I would feel like a right fool. So I would cash in while I can, and then still, keep half of it so I can be like, yeah, sick, I'm fucking rich.
Interesting. So you're saying that you wouldn't sell all of it, but you'd sell some of it.
Yeah.
So you can maintain some kind of position where you can still make more if it goes more.
Yeah, if it keeps going up, then I won't. Then I'll be like, oh, cool, I've still got cash. Whereas if it all went down, I'd be like, fuck, I've just lost
Yeah.
so much.
So would you have said that 5 years ago, or have you always thought like that? Like, how would you?
That I don't believe in crypto?
No, in terms of selling half of it. I like that idea. Where'd you learn that?
I thought about it.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah, that's probably what I do.
Cool. Now I see other donkey over here. Oi, what would you do?
Huh?
What would you do?
With what?
If you had 900k of crypto right now, Bitcoin, 115k each, 8 Bitcoins.
What did I buy it at?
Let's say you
buy it yesterday.
Okay, that's a good question actually. Let's assume you bought it at $1,000 a pop. So you've spent $8,000 on it.
So there are. So I've done 100x.
Mm.
Well, I would never be in that position now because I would have already sold some.
Same.
But man, if I was sitting on like $1 million of crypto and I'd invested 10 grand, so let's say make round numbers, I'd probably be selling at least, I don't know, 300 grand, 350 grand, 35% of it.
Yeah.
That way I've turned my 10k investment into $350,000 less tax, whatever tax bracket you're in, regardless, like you've still done 3,000x on your total investment, plus you still have room to grow. But then I would also like decide that if it drops to 70, I'm going to take another 20%. And also if it gets to like, whatever, 150,000, I'm going to take another 20%. If it gets to 200,000, I'm going to take another 30%, just so that there's never, it's like riding a multi really, like that's the kind of way people think about it. And if you don't have levels or rules to your investing, like you end up being in a position where people are in now, where they're like, oh, it's 100,000, it's going to get to 300,000, and then just never sell it. And then when they're at 300,000, it gets to, it'll get to $1 million, and then they never sell it.
Yeah.
So then you might wait 20, 30 years, who knows, but you never have access to the profit or the gain because you never actually cash it out. Yeah.
Well, crypto is a growth asset, so it's not yielding profit.
There's no dividends and shit.
Yeah. So it's not.
Like, and it has limited utility currently as well.
Yeah, it's like gold. So gold doesn't make you money; it just grows or decreases. It's not like a rental property that prints or provides you money.
Plus, if I had that much Bitcoin, like, or any coin, doesn't matter, or even a share, like fucking Fortescue Metal or something, like, if I only had like $100,000 to my name,
correct.
Plus, then I had like $1 million of Bitcoin sitting around, or $1 million of Fortescue Metal, or whatever it is, like all of your net worth or all of your wealth is in one asset.
That's
and
the thing.
And if that bombs, then you're done.
It's overexposure. So yeah, that was the last thing I would have asked. Is like, if someone asked me that question, I'd be like, well, how much more money do I have? Do I have 10 million asset worth, or do I have? Yeah,
you got $1 million Bitcoin, but you're worth 100 million, then it's irrelevant. A different story. But if you're worth 20 grand and you make 50k a year, and you've got $1 million worth of Bitcoin because you bought it at the right time, and man, I wouldn't be sleeping at night.
Yeah, I'd be the same. Oi, Lenny, you just walked in. If you had 900k of Bitcoin right now, and your net worth was 1.1 million, so pretty much 80% of your...
Including the Bitcoin?
Yes. What would you do with it?
Sell it.
Sell how much of it?
Every cent of it.
You sell it all.
All of it?
Interesting. Why?
Because that's 90% of my net worth, and Bitcoin's just keeping all time high.
Yeah, so what if it goes to $1 million?
I don't know that though.
Yeah, but
Lenny always takes the most conservative approach.
so okay, what about all the people out there? This is the funny one.
That's not to say that I wouldn't reinvest some of it elsewhere, but without knowing anything, I'm selling it.
So even if you didn't know when you bought it, what if you bought it yesterday?
Well, then that potentially changes things. But why would I buy 90% of net worth in Bitcoin yesterday?
That's a good question.
Probably pretty stupid.
Yeah. Well, what if you bought it for $1,000 a pop? So you made 900k essentially. Would you sell every single cent, or would you leave anything on the table?
It's a tough question. You're talking a lot of money here. This is more thought than 20 seconds.
Well, it's all relative. Because like there's people out there right now that are in this situation, but they would have like 9,000 Bitcoin and they'd be worth 11k, and they'd just be riding it. So what like?
It depends. I'd say if you're like living at home and you've got less money, then you could probably afford to take more risk. But if you're someone who's 50 with fucking 90% of your net worth in Bitcoin, then that's a different situation.
Yeah, interesting. Anyway, we'll leave it there. What I will say to that is that I like both Tricky's and Tom's ideas around what we call scaling out in investing. So you're leaving your upside on the table, still having a position. Like Tom said, he'd sell 30. Tricky said he'd sell half. I would personally sell around Tricky's mark, like half for sure, and then I'd do exactly what Tom said and set my levels as like, all right, if it gets to 130, I'm going to sell another 10%. If it gets to 150, I'm going to sell another 10%. And then I'd have my other levels below that as well, which enable me to get out if it goes to shit. So interesting concept. A lot of people at the moment are holding crypto and just riding it to the moon, and we see what happens when people never sell, they never make profit. So it's an interesting one. Tom, final question. People who say you have to pay tax and you're saving tax by not selling it, what do you say to that? So obviously when you sell crypto, just to clarify, when you sell crypto, it goes into your capital gains tax, so into your taxable income bracket. So if you hold it for more than a year, you only have to put half of the profits into that bracket.
Yeah, you get a 50% discount.
Correct. So, but if you sold it within a year, you have to put the entire profit into that bracket.
In the situation we've just discussed,
more than a year.
For more than 12 months.
So you're getting you're going to pay half of that profit goes into your taxable income. So what do you say to that? The people who avoid selling it because they have to pay tax.
Well, you're going to have to pay it eventually. Like, you're going to make profit, right? So the only way for you to like actually materialize that gain, to be able to use it, unless you go and invest, I don't even know the specifics around like the dodgy shit you can do with Bitcoin. But the reality is, like, you saying I'm not going to sell it because I'm going to pay tax is the dumbest excuse ever. Because if it gets to wherever your wildest dreams imagine that it will get to, you're still going to have to sell it and you're still going to have to pay tax. So yeah, people that are saying that they're not going to sell it because of that, like, that's just stupidity, unfortunately.
It's an interesting concept because you're right. They have to sell it to make money, and you only pay tax if you make money.
Correct.
So if you don't make money, you don't pay tax.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, we'll leave it there. If you have any questions about anything, leave them in the comments.